Mr. Venegas here. Today what we're going to do is we're going to learn a new note. But, as always, we got to start with the old stuff. So, I'm going to start once again with the world's most boring measure. I bet you're saying, oh no, Mr. Venegas, not the boring measure. Well, I'm sorry, we got to start with the boring measure. So, I'm going to draw my quarter notes. Okay, so I have my 4 quarter notes, great. Now, I'm going to write my big counts, 1, 2, 3, and 4. Now, the last lesson we did, I told you guys that if I were to go and combine 2 quarter notes together, how many beats would those be worth? They would be worth 2 beats, right? So, in order to fix that, because they don't look like that necessarily, I would draw 2 half notes, because a half note is worth 2 beats. So let me fix this. Great, now we have enough space. I'm going to draw my 2 half notes, which are worth 2 counts each. Now, for the counting, remember, since 2 beats are inside one note, the first number I would write, obviously, is going to be 1. And it's a big one because that's where we always start. Now, the little number, I would need to make sure that I put it right next to the number 1 because that 2, that second beat, is inside of that half note. Now, we don't say it because it's inside, but we have to remember it's there. So if I have a big 1, small 2, I'm going to write, because this is a new note, a big 3 and a small 4. So now that we kind of remember exactly what we were doing before, this is where we're going to learn what our new note is. Now what I'm going to do is some magic. I'm going to take these 2 notes and I'm going to combine them. Ooh, ah, ee. That's right. Now, if I combine these, how many beats is that going to be worth? Right. It would be worth 4 beats. You would say, Mr. Venegas, I don't know. What are those worth? 4 beats? So, your new note is going to be what's called a whole note. Now, a whole note, as you can see, looks like a donut. Right. Now, a whole note will be worth 4 beats of sound. Now, we talked about the half notes being like this. The counting for the whole note is going to be similar, but we have to remember what we remembered about how do I write the second beat if it's inside with the first beat. So a quarter note's worth 4 beats, so I'm going to write a big 1, small 2, small 3, and a small 4. This is how it would sound. Down, up, ready, go. 1, freeze. It seems like a really long note, but we're also going very slow so you can feel where the beat is, and you can also tap your foot with me. Here we go. Let's try that one again. Count it with me. Down, up, ready, go. 1, freeze. How'd you do? Hopefully you did really well with that whole note. Now, let's go ahead and let's try this. I'm going to erase this. Now what I'm going to write is I'm going to draw a few measures for you. Now, we have our 4 measures, right? Because we have measure 1, measure 2, measure 3, and finally measure 4. Now, these notes we've already learned before. Our new note is in here as well. We have half notes that are right at the beginning, measures 1 and 3, and our whole notes in measures 2 and 4. So, what we need to do is we need to practice counting through these, so that way we know the difference of how they sound. Let's try this together. Try your best, and let's see how you do. Ready? Down, up, ready, count. 1, 3, How'd you do? Hopefully you did all right with these. These can be a little bit tricky because it can be easy to lose your space. But luckily, you're able to tap your foot. If you guys are tapping your foot, it's going to be so much easier for you to know where the beat is. You just have to think of it in your head. Let's try it one more time. Here we go. Make sure your foot is tapping. Down, up, ready, count. 1, 3, 1, 1, 3, 1, freeze. Great job, everybody. With this new note, last time I talked to you guys about if I have a note of one certain type, I'm also going to have a rest of that same type. Using those clues in my head, I already know if I have a quarter rest and a quarter note, and then I have a half rest and a half note, what do you think I'm going to have next? I'm going to have a whole rest. Yes, a whole rest. Now, a whole rest is just like a whole note with the exception of instead of 4 beats of sound, it's going to be 4 beats of silence. I bet you're wondering, Mr. Venegas, if my time signature is only 4/4 and there's only 4 beats inside the measure, does that whole rest take up the whole measure? And then I would look at you and say, why, my bright and shining child? Yes, because it's called a whole rest. So it'll take up the whole measure. The answer's in the name, but I knew you knew that. So today what you guys learned, just as a review, we learned a whole note, which is worth 4 beats of sound, and it has 8 pulses. And we also learned how many beats a whole rest would get, which is 4 beats of silence, and it's also 8 pulses, but silent. So, as always, if you guys have any questions on that, feel free to ask. Until next time, bye-bye.